spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim McKay, speaking to you from one of the most exciting spots at one of the most exciting moments in all the wide world of sports. Behind me, the cars are being wheeled onto the track for the start of the 51st running of the Indianapolis 500-mile Classic. The great Americans are here. Mario Andretti is on the pole. He averaged more than 168 miles an hour in qualification. And then there's Dan Gurney and Gordon Johncock alongside him. There's a great Turbine car that you're going to be seeing in just a moment or two here. This is not a one-day story, however. The story of Indy started here more than a month ago.
That was on April 29th, the first day of practice. More than 90 cars had indicated their desire to run in the race, and only 33 could. Cale Yarborough and George Snyder staged a little race of their own for the honor of being the first car on the track. This is the skeleton of an Indianapolis race car. Memorial Day, 1967, and now it's time for the 51st running of the great Indianapolis 500. One of the traditional ceremonies, the letting loose of these multicolored balloons into a dark and threatening Indiana sky this day. 33 cars, remember, set for the start. A blizzard of color over the racetrack. The final car is being wheeled into position, and there is the one that has become a bogeyman for many of the others. This is car number 40, the Turbine car. It's been the talk of the racetrack ever since it opened for practice. The opinions of the drivers have varied about it. Some think it's unfair.
No, I don't think it's unfair at all. I think it's bloody clever. And full marks to Granatelli for doing it. I mean, it was a hell of a gamble, and it's paid off, and I think he deserves every credit. I'm only sorry that I didn't think of it first.
Well, it worries me a lot. I hope they will be able to beat it. I think that, in theory, they shouldn't have any engine trouble, and they may possibly have some gearbox trouble, as I hear.
You think it can be beaten?
Well, I think so. I'm sure going to try. I feel that the new cars that we built at home in Texas, the Coyotes, and myself and Joe, will run 500 miles all day real strong. So I think they're going to be hard to beat, those two cars.
Yes, well, if I don't win the race, I think there's no other car I would rather have winning the race than the gas turbine. I think it would upset a lot of people, which would be very amusing.
It's a real nice machine, but it's still a stove, you know.
All I want to do is just get down and get out of his way, because I think he's going to be long gone in about 2 laps.
I get the feeling that some of these drivers, and these are pretty hard fellas to shake, are a little spooked by this automobile. Is there kind of a psychological factor involved, do you think?
Well, I think a great deal of it is, yes, because of the fact that it is very quiet and has tremendous jump off the corners. But I really do. I think the car has a great possibility, and of course, if we have to have a little luck too. But I think we have a great chance.
Many people, including drivers, seem to be awarding the race ahead of time.
Well, that's just wishful thinking, because nobody's ever came here before with a new experimental car and won the race. In fact, they've been lucky to make the race, so I think a little bit optimistic myself.
What about the advantages? What are they?
Well, the fact that it has turbine power, which is generally reliable. The fact that it's 4-wheel drive, which makes the car handle better. The fact that it uses kerosene for fuel instead of gasoline or alcohol. And the fact that we could burn vodka, gin, or perfume, or what have you, if we wanted to. I mean, and the fact that it's just generally a safer car because it's stronger and built better.
Are there any drawbacks?
No, not that I know of. Maybe just a little jealousy.
One man who's made no secret of his feelings about the Turbine car all month is the man on the pole, little Mario Andretti. Time for the drivers to get into the car. This must be a kind of a lonely moment, Roger.
Well, it certainly is. Of course, you have those butterflies in your stomach, and you will have until they say start your engines.
The man on the pole again, Andretti. fastest qualifying field in history, better than 164 miles per hour average. In the back row, the defending champion, Graham Hill. Next to him, Jochen Rindt of Austria. And rounding out the field, 43-year-old Al Miller, driving the car originally scheduled for Lorenzo Bandini, who tragically met his death a few weeks ago in Monte Carlo. Just moments now.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
The field moving off now. The mechanics off the track. Falling in line behind the pace car. And soon this race will be underway, but that's Graham Hill. The defending champion did not get started. His engine is still cold. It's dead. He is not moving. He'll have to get his car out of there if he can't get started very soon. He still has a chance to rejoin this field, however. That car trailing smoke is the one driven by rookie Wally Dallenbach. And in this field, we might mention, the first row, remember, is Andretti, Gurney, and Johncock. The second row, A.J. Foyt, Joe Leonard, and Parnelli Jones. And there's Hill's car being taken off the track now. Third row, Lloyd Ruby, Bobby Unser, and his brother, Al Unser. The fourth row is George Snyder, Jimmy McElreath, and Bobby Grimm. Fifth row is Art Pollard, the fastest rookie, with Mel Kenyon and Wally Dallenbach. And there goes Hill. He's got it started, Roger. Out on the track. Way back in the sixth row is Jimmy Clark. And quickly, the other cars in the race, Johnny Rutherford, Cale Yarborough, Larry Dixon, Roger McCluskey, Carl Williams, Dennis Holm, Bud Tinglestad, Leroy Yarborough, Chuck Hulse, Bob Veit, Jackie Stewart, Jerry Grant, and in the last row, Graham Hill, Jochen Rindt, and Al Miller. The pace car being driven by Maury Rose, a three-time Indianapolis champion. And there shouldn't be any controversy about the pace car and the way it gets this race started this year with Maury at the wheel.
Well, that certainly won't. They complained about a slow start last year, and at the rate Mario is accelerating right now, they're going to have a very fast start.
Sure are, and there it is. Mario Andretti taking the lead as the green flag falls. Moving into that famous first turn at Indianapolis. Mario Andretti, that's Johncock, pulling into second place, and there is Parnelli Jones passing Gurney already, taking third, and now trying to take second away from Johncock.
And there's the effect of that four-wheel drive, moving clear out of the groove to pass automobiles. As he goes across the short straightaway, he's in second spot and right in behind Mario.
Immediately he chases after Mario Andretti, and he gets by him. The Turbine car has got the lead just that quickly.
And the rest of the field coming out onto the back straightaway. Down into turn 3, and as you can see, Parnelli does have a fairly comfortable lead, not too far away yet.
The rest of the field all underway. Graham Hill did make it, remember, in time for the start. Look at that jockeying for position.
Well, of course, there are many faster cars in the back, and they're trying to find a place to pass those slower cars up front.
I can't ever remember, as a matter of fact, so many good cars being so far back in the field. And here comes Graham Hill.
It appears as though he's still having some problems with his car.
The speed for the first lap, a new Indianapolis record, 154.374 miles per hour by Parnelli Jones. That car's really moving.
It certainly is, and as you can see down the back straightaway, he's lengthening his lead somewhat over Dan Gurney.
The Indianapolis track, 2.5 miles long. It'll be 200 laps before this race is done. The leader, Parnelli Jones. And look out, there's a spin. It's Leroy Yarborough.
Ooh. Almost back in front of some other automobiles, and of course the yellow flag is out.
Out of the car, he's okay. The yellow flag out, and we'll be back at Indianapolis in just a minute. The green flag is out again at Indianapolis. Jim McKay reporting here along with Roger Ward, and the leader in the race is Parnelli Jones in the revolutionary new Turbine car, number 40. Second place now is Dan Gurney. Third place, Mario Andretti. In fourth place, A.J. Foyt. And the battle is for second right now. Now, there you see them. The dark car is Gurney, then the white appearing car is Andretti, and then the orange Coyote of A.J. Foyt. And on the lead, the Turbine. And you see he's beginning to stretch it out just a little bit over those others. Now, On the right, that's Lloyd Ruby already in the pits, and his engine is stopped. Looks like real trouble. And here comes Wally Dallenbach smoking his way through the pits.
Actually, I suspect he fouled a couple spark plugs and come in for a change. But as you can see, Pernelli has lengthened his lead considerably.
He sure has, and again, we can see that jockeying for position, Roger.
Well, there's still quite a few cars trying to move up through traffic.
There, the quiet whoosh of the turbine again. The relationship of the rest of the field beginning to string out quite a bit. Single file through these turns, right, Roger?
Yes, you have to go single file through the turns. The groove is actually one car width wide. You might be two abreast going in or coming out, but in the middle of the turn, you'd be single file.
There you see them doing. Long way to go before this crowd of 300,000, and the sky's really threatening right now. That's Andretti, I think. Yep.
Yes, he's making a pit stop, and certainly this is too early to be scheduled. He must have some kind of problem with his automobile.
Mario Andretti, the young man sitting on the pole in this race, then is in for a most unscheduled pit stop.
And for the second time in 2 years, he's in the pits with trouble very early.
Talking to Chief Mechanic Clint Bronner there, giving him an idea where the problem is. A look from overhead at the turbine as it stretches that lead. We might explain, I think, Roger, that this turbine is not a jet in the sense that an airplane's a jet. There's Mario going out.
No, that particular engine is a reciprocating engine. It does have a drive shaft that drives the wheels.
And already it is lapping a slower car, Wally Dallenbach, as a matter of fact.
There you can see that. Oh, there's Mario back in the pits again. Part of that trouble is very serious.
So the man who won the pole position in the pits for the second time in just a couple of laps, the trouble obviously serious. He could be out of this race as the turbine whooshes by again. The grandstand at the Indianapolis Speedway has suddenly become a forest of colorful umbrellas because it's raining. Raining hard, and you saw the red flag being waved. That means that the 51st Indianapolis 500 is going to be stopped. For one of the very rare times in the history of Indy, the field will be brought around one more time and then actually and literally stopped and lined up in single file. There's Mario Andretti, who appeared to be out of the race, but now may not be, right, Roger?
Well, actually, Jim, if the race were stopped long enough, they could get this automobile repaired, and Mario could get back in this race.
That wasn't true a year ago, but it is now.
No, they've had a new rule change, and this could help his situation. If he's several laps behind, but of course, he's a man who wants to race.
That, of course, is because his car is still in the pits. Lloyd Ruby, on the other hand, who went out just a couple of minutes ago, has already had his car pushed into the garage, and that means he can't come back, doesn't it?
That's right. You have to keep your car on what is called the race course, and the pit area, of course, is the race course.
There is the leader in the race, the turbine car driven by Parnelli Jones, coming to a stop after just 18 laps. This car has certainly proved itself already, and gee, that rain is coming down hard now.
And there's the rest of the field lining up behind Pernelli, all the cars stopping.
Now, when they restart, whenever that may be, they will be lined up in single file in the order they were going on the track. That might mean, for example, that a lapped car would start out right behind Parnelli.
That's right, and there's Wally Dallenbach, still having a little problem with smoke.
The cover's being brought out for the race cars here, kind of another historic moment. The famous weather luck of Indianapolis track president Tony Hulman not holding out. He's had almost a spotless record up to now.
He certainly has. It's very unusual to have rain on race day at Indianapolis.
Now look at these leaden skies overhead. As things come to a halt, this crowd won't leave very soon, though, I'll tell you that. 300,000 of them will stick it out just about as long as they can. Mario Andretti praying for more rain. Let's get the word on this lead car from the man who owns it, Andy Granatelli.
Andy, you seem not only determined to win the Indianapolis 500, but you seem determined to do it with something radically different. For example, this beautiful machine you brought this year.
Yes, it is a different machine, Jim. It's entirely different than any car that's ever been brought here before. The car is four-wheel drive, and it has a turbine engine on its side, and the driver sits on the right side. The frame is smack down the center, and it's 30 times stronger than any other car here.
Is that right, the actual frame of the car, huh?
Yes, it's a wishbone type frame, and the fuel sits right in the middle of the car. It's different than anything that's ever been here before. It's the safest race car ever built. The overall width of the car is 3 inches narrower than other cars here. It just appears to be wider. Because the car is shorter, and it's completely new. Everything's new.
Turn to Indianapolis. It's the morning after Memorial Day, and for the first time in its history, the Indianapolis 500 will be run on 2 separate days. The weather is good as the cars are wheeled out again. Here's A.J. Foyt. A.J., it looked like you went right after Mario yesterday, and you got him, but that Turbine's a little out in front.
Yes, it is. My car's working real good. I wasn't pushing too hard yesterday. I did want the race to get underway for a while.
Uh-huh. Well, how about the Turbine moving out so easily from everybody else?
Well, we knew that before we came here because I'd feel in my own mind it's about twice the horsepower of what we're running. It's just hard to compete when you have a car that's got that much advantage. But I really feel in my own mind that it will break.
You feel that it will? Any reason for that, A.J.?
I feel I have gearbox trouble.
Parnelli, A.J. says he thinks you're going to have gearbox trouble.
Well, I'm sure that they're all certainly hoping I have some kind of trouble. However, I know last night they let the fellas change their fuels, and they all put in more nitro, so they ought to be running a little bit better today.
Thank you, Parnelli.
Thank you.
Well, everything is conjecture at this point, but in just a couple of minutes we'll find out, and Parnelli sure looks confident. So does Andy Granatelli, the owner of that car, as Parnelli gets ready to get into it. This is Jackie Stewart's car, and he's been doing very well. He's moved up a lot of places, as young Jackie from Scotland, who almost won this race just a year ago. And there again is a look at this team. Here are the standings, by the way. On the restart, Jones is first, remember. Dan Gurney is second. Third is A.J. Foyt. Fourth is Foyt's teammate, Joe Leonard. Fifth place is Al Unser. And in sixth place, the surprising rookie, Art Pollard. A good look at the Turbine car now. See the driver on the right, engine on the left, and kind of a spine down the middle. The Granatelli brothers gathered around, and Andy could hardly contain himself. He's having such a good time.
Well, Jim, they look very confident. Parnelli looks as though he's very relaxed and confident. I think perhaps they feel all they have to do is run those other laps and take the checkered flag for a win.
Gee, that sure is the face of the calmest man in the starting line, isn't it?
Well, their car performed so well yesterday, I think they feel extremely confident.
Okay, and now we're just about ready to go. A final word from Parnelli Jones to Andy Granatelli, and a flick of the ash from the cigarette. Looks like he's relaxing in his easy chair for the rest of the day. And now the business gets just a little bit more serious. Moving out behind that pace car. Once again, they will start, as we said, in single file. However, the cars immediately behind Parnelli will not be the cars in second and third places. They will be cars that already have been lapped, but were physically right behind him in the race.
That's right. Actually, I think we probably should mention that some of these men have made great moves through this field. Roger McCluskey, for example, who started in 22nd position, is now running in 12th. And that's a moving of some 10 positions.
We noticed, by the way, as Wally Dallenbach went by, that he is still smoking as he was yesterday. That one thing has not changed.
That's right, but his car seems to perform all right when he's got the power on.
Talking about fellows who made good moves, Jackie Stewart started in 29th position in this field. He's now 14th. He has moved past 15 cars. There's Maury Rose off the track again, very fast in the pace car. And there's the start. Parnelli Jones moving out in front as the green flag is waved. Another car that has been doing well has been Jochen Rindt, who started in 32nd place, is now 20th. Jimmy Clark, on the other hand, the former champion here, has not been doing well. Started way back in the middle of the pack at 16th and has dropped 2 places.
Well, I think he's experiencing some kind of engine trouble. We'll see if they were able to fix it while the car was in the garage last night. A lot of traffic out there, Jim.
And again, as you pointed out yesterday, falling into single file after they get into those turns. It's on the straightaway when the passing is done here at Indianapolis.
Yes, and as you can see from the spacing there, Parnelli has moved out to a rather comfortable lead. Dan Gurney has a pretty good lead over A.J. Foyt, and the rest of the field is somewhat further back.
I'm rather surprised, Roger, that Dan is sticking much closer to Parnelli than he was yesterday.
Well, I think probably his car is working a little bit better. He probably made a couple of chassis changes.
I am also surprised by the size of this crowd. Remember, this is the day after Memorial Day, a working day for most people. It's not a holiday, and yet there must be well over 200,000 people who have returned to this racetrack.
Well, I think that just simply indicates how many race fans there actually are and how ardent they are.
there, by the way, is Mario Andretti, car number 1, trying to move up through this field. Mario, if you remember, was stopped yesterday. However, his car was repaired. He was allowed to get in the race in next to last position, however. Already he's passed about 4 or 5 cars.
Yes, he has, and as you can see, the traffic on that front straightaway, I don't believe I've ever seen so much moving around on the straightaway in an effort to pass automobiles.
A lot of jockeying going on in there. Looks a little different from overhead and from these camera positions than when you're out there, I guess, Roger.
It certainly does, and I think it shows how really great these automobiles are and how maneuverable they are. And perhaps this can be attested because of the great tires that we're using.
The tire development has been terrific in the last few years, I know that. There's Colin Chapman at his accustomed position at that very neat table. However, his cars are not running very neatly today. Both Graham Hill and Jimmy Clark having their problems out on the race course.
Well, they certainly are. As a matter of fact, they're not doing well at all.
However, they are members of the Andy Granatelli entry here, and the other one is doing very well indeed, thank you. Car number 40, out in front.
Certainly is. He's extended his lead rather considerably.
Now there goes Gurney, about 4 seconds. And here's AJ. He's about 9 seconds behind. And now where's the rest of the field? Gives you an idea of just how these first 3 cars have begun to dominate this race.
Well, as you can see, they've got a very substantial lead on the rest of the field.
When that pack came through, they were about 22 seconds, the way I had it, behind the lead car, Parnelli Jones.
Yes, and that would make them some 14 seconds behind A.J. Foyt. But there is a tremendous battle going on for the 5th, 6th, and 7th places right now.
And the way automobile races go, you never know how it's going to end up by the end of the afternoon. That's why it struck me so many times. You never see a race driver give up, Roger, in a race, no matter if he falls a number of pit stops and 10, 11 laps behind. They'll still keep going to the finish, right?
They certainly will. As a matter of fact, if you'll think about it for a moment, Mario Andretti, who's moving through this field very precisely and very rapidly, is actually 6 laps behind the lead, and yet he wants to be out there, he wants to compete, and is driving as though he were battling for the lead.
Boy, he sure is. That's no exaggeration at all, the way Mario's going. There he goes. He's passed about 7, 8 cars now.
Yes, and he's in pretty heavy traffic right now. That was Graham Hill, and he's falling further and further behind. I expect he has some rather serious problems.
No problems with the Turbine, meanwhile. And here's Graham coming into the pits right now. The man who won Indianapolis in a big surprise.
And there's Jimmy
last year.
Clark, who's also experiencing trouble out there. His car is smoking very badly, Jim.
Graham Hill out of the car. Looks like that's the end of the afternoon. There's the car being pushed away, Roger.
Yeah, that would indicate that they're through for today.
So Colin Chapman, who came here just a few years ago and really revolutionized things in Indy with the rear-engine car and with Jimmy Clark winning it, with Graham Hill winning last year, has fallen on hard times in the year 1967, because here's Jimmy.
Yes, and with Hill out and now Jimmy pulling into the pits, and judging from the smoke that was trailing his automobile, he is probably out too.
That does not change the leaders, remember. It's still Jones and Gurney and Foyt. And there is Jimmy out of his car. Both of the famous Grand Prix drivers from England have
and
had it
there's
the
Jochen
afternoon.
Rindt. Jim, I hate to interrupt you, but Jochen Rindt is having some problems with his car, too.
Let's have a word with Graham. What happened?
I'm afraid the engine trouble that we had yesterday, we weren't able to fix, and in fact, it was a lot worse today than it was yesterday. And eventually a piston blew, and so we had to chuck it in. And I think the same time to Jimmy Clark.
And there you see it. The 2 red cars out of the race. Back in a minute. We continue to see the dawn of a new era here in Indianapolis as the turbine-powered car, driven by Parnelli Jones, moves out to a most comfortable lead over the rest of the field. Powerful, almost completely silent, it has really captured the fancy of almost 250,000 people gathered here. Second place right now is Dan Gurney, and there's A.J. Foyt in third position. Fourth is Roger McCluskey, amazingly moved up from an original 22nd starting place. And in fifth place, the rookie, Art Pollard. Some interesting things going on back there, Roger.
Well, there certainly are. It's been a tremendous race throughout most of the day for those positions in 4th, 5th, and 6th.
There goes Parnelli, lapping slower cars as he goes along, completely dominating this race. Be a lot of talk after this one, it looks like, as to whether this turbine car should be legal for next year, I guess.
Well, there certainly will. There's already a lot of conversation about it.
That's Jochen Rindt in the pits right now. You remember he was smoking a little bit earlier.
He's certainly done a great job today. It's a shame his car is experiencing problems.
Young Austrian driver, a brilliant young Grand Prix driver on his first attempt here at Indy.
There's trouble. There's trouble in third turn.
That's the leader. Parnelli Jones and Leroy Yarborough tangling and miraculously untangling. And it looks like both cars are going to get underway again.
I believe I said third turn. Actually, that was the 4th turn that they had trouble in. But it looked as though they were going to get together there for a while. I think they did touch.
Well, they're both underway again as the yellow light and the yellow flag, of course, come out. There you see it. Right now, however, let's take a look at that in slow motion and stop action. There they were coming into the turn.
I think Jones, in an effort to pass Leroy, lap him, of course, went in a little bit too low, and Leroy didn't realize he was there, came down to the white line, pinched Parnelli off. They touched, as you can see, and, of course, Leroy spun right in front of Jones. Then it looks as though Jones pushed him a little way. Then they got apart again, continued to spin, and continued on down the track.
Well, that's the way it happened. And look now, the car of Dan Gurney is in the pits. Momentarily, he went into the lead when that crash took place, but now he is in the pits and has lost his opportunity to take over first place. So, a tremendous development here as Parnelli Jones, the leader, got entangled in that crash, but now has again taken over first place. And there's Mario Andretti has lost a wheel.
Well, it's sure a tough break for Mario.
He's got the car under control, however, and into the infield safely.
Mario, what happened? Wheel come off. I guess the brakes generated enough heat that expanded the hubs and just let the wheel loose, and then little by little the wing nut started backing off. And the only lucky thing is gave me a warning going down the straightaway before I let go, so I was able to slow down enough by the time I got into the corner.
Well, there you have the word from Mario Andretti. Unfortunately, for the second year in a row, breaking down after having won the pole position here at Indianapolis.
And, Jim, here comes Parnelli Jones into the pits for his first scheduled pit stop.
Okay, the turbine car, the leader in the race, and there's that air brake, Roger.
Yes, that's been very controversial. The drivers complain they can't see over it. And, of course, that stack that they're putting over that engine is to keep the heat of that engine up in the air so as not to ignite the fuel they're attempting to put in the car.
The pit crew working away, led by the Granatelli brothers. Two of them at the rear of the car. And Andy, the car owner, is also a member of the pit crew. There's Andy right now, as a matter of fact. Give him the signal to go out. Whoa! Holy mackerel!
Oh, they jerked the hoses right off the fuel tank. Andy almost has gotten run over.
That is about the wildest pit stop, Roger. Look at this. Look at this. An argument between the brothers now, Joe and Andy Granatelli, and fuel all over the pavement here.
And, of course, no one knows for sure how much fuel they got in the automobile. This could perhaps eliminate Parnelli as a threat here. At least he may have to make another pit stop. We don't know how much fuel he got.
Or if anything might have been broken. Could something have been broken in that sort of a thing?
Well, yes, it could. If those hoses were not disconnected, he could have damaged perhaps the refueling nozzles that are a part of the automobile.
Okay, so that's two incidents so far for the lead car. That accident he had with Leroy Yarborough, and now those hoses literally being yanked out of the gas tanks. More properly, the kerosene tanks in the case of this car.
That's right, and of course, they won't be able to fill up that tank again, so we don't know if they'll have fuel enough to go the distance now.
Is it any more difficult for any particular reason to fuel with kerosene than with the other fuels being used here?
No, it wouldn't be any more difficult at all.
Chris Economaki is down in the pits right now. I think he's with Joe Granatelli. Well, let's go down to Chris.
What happened on that last pit stop with the fuel line, Joe?
I don't know what happened. All I know is the car started moving forward. I assumed that the brakes come off for a second or something. I have no idea what happened.
Will it affect your ability to refuel efficiently at the next stop?
Nothing affects our ability to do anything. We do whatever we have to do. If it's impossible, it's just a little bit rougher, that's all.
One thing you got to say about those guys, they're full of confidence, Roger.
Well, they certainly are, and of course the car is still running very well. Of course, Purnell's in second place now. A.J. Foyt has taken over the lead as a result of that pit stop, but he'll have to be stopping before too long.
Oh, look out, spins. That's Art Pollard, the rookie, who's doing so well, headed for that fence, but looks like he's going to be all right. However, he had moved all the way up to 5th place, and that's certainly going to drop him back if he gets started at all. Look at the always efficient crews coming out. Fire engines, trucks, everything.
Well, of course, that's one thing we have plenty of at Indianapolis. Lots of protection, lots of fire equipment. I would imagine with this yellow flag that perhaps A.J. Foyt will make his pit stop. Uh-oh, and there is trouble on turn 3.
That was Al Unser, I think, hitting Carl Williams. Bob Vike was in that, too. And that was another near thing. Gee,
yes, and looks as though all the cars are able to continue, and there is Foyt in the pits.
Taking advantage of the yellow flag right now. There, the water being handed out to him on a stick. That's because only a certain number of people are allowed over the pit wall.
That's right. You're only allowed 5 people out there.
There's McCluskey, excuse me, who has moved all the way from 22nd to 4th place. He's in pitting. Everybody coming in now.
Well, there's Al Unser making his pit stop, and of course, this is the right time to make it, because under that yellow flag, you wouldn't lose nearly as much time.
There's Dennis Holm. Remember, we saw him win the Grand Prix of Monaco in Wide World of Sports, driving for Smokey Unick here in the city of Daytona Beach Special. Dennis is driving very steady. It's his kind of race.
He certainly is, and you saw the pit crew looking over the tires, and there goes A.J. back on the racetrack.
However, Carnelli Jones has retaken the lead, and there's the car of Carl Williams. They're going to take the nose right off that, looks like, Roger.
Well, during the month of May, they give these cars a lot of loving care, but they're not giving that one too much loving care right now.
Getting the job done, however. They don't want that thing dragging on the pavement. Is that going to affect the aerodynamics of that car in a significant way?
No, actually, the important thing is to get plenty of air to the radiator.
So the race continues here as we come to you in color. The Indianapolis 500. Parnelli Jones, the leader once again in that turbine-powered car. We'll be back in just a minute. We return to Indianapolis. Jim McKay reporting along with two-time Indianapolis champion Roger Ward. The leader in the race is that car, number 40, the fabulous turbine machine driven by Parnelli Jones. In second place is A.J. Foyt. And look out, that's Wally Dallenbach against the pit wall.
Looks as though he must have hit it 4 or 5 times as he came down the straightaway there.
And where's that right rear wheel? Doesn't seem to be in the way of any of the cars as they move through here. The yellow flag. Oh, there's the wheel just outside the pit wall. And they get it back inside.
Of course, that car is parked in a rather precarious place at the moment.
And as we said, the yellow flag out, the car's going more slowly. But look out, that's Cale Yarborough, and he's spun.
And this presents a rather dangerous situation because the drivers tend to relax a little bit on the yellow flag, and they certainly aren't expecting a car right in the middle of the groove.
And there goes Cale right up the fence. I don't blame him.
I'd want to be out of that car myself. Oh, and there are some cars spinning.
This is Leroy Yarborough, no relation, and Lloyd Ruby up against the fence. Again, both drivers seem uninjured. Tremendous luck in this race with all the crashes and spins that have been going on today.
And, of course, that's what I predicted could happen.
That's right, Roger, and I think it's going to take a little while before that yellow flag is going to be lowered and the green flag waved again. Crashes and spins and a fantastically exciting Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500 continues under near-perfect weather conditions. The car's going into the 130th lap. When they finish that lap, they will have gone 325 of the 500 miles. And the leader is still Parnelli Jones as they flash across that 1 yard of brick that recalls the days when this was, in fact, the brickyard, as they called it. In second place is A.J. Foyt. And in third place, with 1 lap behind now, is Jackie Stewart. Matter of fact, at the moment, Jackie's been trying to unlap himself on A.J. Foyt, and that's been quite a duel going on here.
Well, they certainly has been a duel all day long. He's driven a tremendous race to come from so far back.
He sure has. And here is the pit of Parnelli Jones as he comes in for his second pit stop of the day, and in all probability, his final one.
Yes, if everything goes well, this would be his last pit stop.
They seem to have gotten plenty of fuel in on that first kind of difficult and unorganized pit stop they had.
Yes, they have, and it looks as though they're pretty well organized this time, and perhaps taking a little more time.
A.J. Foyt, of course, takes the lead on this pit stop, and that's Jackie Stewart still trying to unlap himself, get on the same lap with the leaders.
And there goes Parnelli back to the races again.
28 seconds, a real fast stop, and we'll be back in a minute. We're moving toward the closing stages now of the Indianapolis 500. Parnelli Jones in that Turbine car dominating the afternoon here, as it has since this race started actually yesterday. Remember, it was interrupted by rain, restarted today. There's Mario Andretti, one of a number of top drivers who are out of this race now. The sign given to Parnelli Jones that he's 35 seconds behind A.J. Foyt at the moment. However, he has a pit stop in hand. There you saw Rindt. There's Jimmy Clark, who's also out of the race. Jochen Rindt, you saw before, the young Austrian, also dropped out. Graham Hill, the defending champion, was forced to leave the race quite early. But in the pits of the Granatelli brothers, the Turbine car, and Parnelli Jones, there is joy and anticipation of the finish of this race. The Turbine has had no problems, except for a little altercation with Leroy Yarborough's car early in the race and a kind of a fouled-up pit stop. And right now, Jackie Stewart has become a great story as he tries to unlap himself on car number 14, A.J. Foyt. You saw people cheering for him there. Jackie has really developed a lot of fans in America since the first came over here last year and almost won the race. I talked to Jackie just before the race started yesterday. It must be a long time since you've been starting in the next to last row of a motor race.
Yes, that's the simple answer. I can't ever remember doing this. But of course, it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? Starting almost last.
It sure is. Do you have a planned strategy? I mean, if you're going to go out fast or hang back or what?
Well, mainly to try and win. This is the strategy. And to try and get past all the other 30 cars that I've got to get up through. It's obviously going to be quite difficult. I've got no idea how I'm going to do it. I just hope that they're courteous towards me and wave me through.
You think that they'll do that? They'll just wave you right on through?
Well, my experience of American hospitality has been very nice. And I should think if they continue with this, their manners as well as they have been over the last month, I should think they'll move over very nicely for me.
The personable young Scot, Jackie Stewart, and of course American hospitality has had absolutely nothing to do with it, but Jackie has moved from 30th place to 3rd, an incredible achievement, isn't it, Roger?
Well, it certainly is. Almost unbelievable, as a matter of fact. However, other people have made great moves today, including Roger McCluskey, and here's Foyt making his second scheduled pit stop.
Right, and that will put Jackie Stewart, at least for a few moments, even closer to A.J. by the time A.J. finishes this stop. Jackie, however, will have to make a stop himself very shortly. Things seem to be going well down in the Foyt pits.
Seem very calm, and here comes Parnelli Jones through turn 3, across the short straightaway, turn 4, and heading for that starting line. Probably will get back in the lead before A.J. is able to leave the pits.
Well, that's right. He was 35 seconds behind, and in addition to the actual pit stop time, of course, they're slowing down coming in and reaccelerating going out, and Parnelli Jones has retaken the lead.
And there's A.J. getting ready to leave the pits, and back to the race.
But it's still an automobile race. As you can see, the number of seconds is not that tremendous. Here's car number 98. That's interesting because that's Parnelli Jones' old number, and in fact, his old car from last year being driven by Ronnie Duman this time.
Yes, and apparently he's experiencing some kind of trouble. However, look as though he's going to get back into the race. The engine is running. They're getting him a little start, and he'll be back out there.
Excuse me, here's a black flag, and that black flag is being given to Dan Gurney, who was so much a contender in the early going. However, he's had considerable problems, has been in and out of the pits, has been trailing and losing laps, and now they've told him, come on in, the afternoon is done for you. It's basically a safety measure, really, isn't it? And there's Roger McCluskey coming in. That's not a scheduled pit stop for him either.
No, it isn't, and they're not attempting to refuel the automobile, so apparently his problems are serious.
There's Gurney also into the pits under the orders of the starter. It looks very much as if McCluskey's going to be out. Well, there's a sign, as a matter of fact, to John Cock telling him the number 12, that's McCluskey, right now is being wheeled to the gasoline alley. He's out of the race. So is Gurney. Here's Dan.
What was the problem with the car, Dan?
I'll be standing.
Oh, we burned them.
We have Allison out in
We had a jammed fuel valve, which I couldn't switch over to use the fuel. We used the fuel on the right side of the car first. I couldn't switch over to the left. I was wrestling this thing, and as I was going along, why, all of a sudden it ran real lean. I think we got burned a valve. So I've been running on 7 cylinders.
And now here is more trouble out of the race course. That is Jackie Stewart down on the grass, and that can mean nothing but very bad trouble for him.
Well, he couldn't be out of fuel or anything. Probably he's blown an engine. Of course, this is just like last year. He was, of course, leading last year when he had trouble, but this year he was running a very fine 3rd position.
And I think this is almost the exact spot where he finally had to chuck it in, as the English said, last year.
Of course, last year he attempted to push the car into the pits.
That's right. Barnelli Jones, the leader again in the race. To restate that, A.J. Foyt in 2nd place. The race goes on and is nearing its conclusion. Jackie Stewart walking to the pits. Back in a minute. 1967 Indianapolis 500 will soon be history. We're in the closing laps now, and Barnelli Jones has opened up a tremendous lead over 2nd place A.J. Foyt. There you see it, Barnelli 53 seconds ahead, and in his pits they even have time for a little consolation to Jackie Stewart, who dropped out of the race a little while ago. There's another spin, a flash against the wall. It's Cale Yarborough again hitting the wall, and there is Mel Kenyon, car number 15, and Bud Tingelstad down in the infield. 3 cars involved this time. Again, it looks like the drivers are okay, all of them moving.
Certainly an amazing thing. I can't understand why so many spins and crashes. The track doesn't appear to be exceptionally oily.
Oh, there have been a lot of close battles, of course, going on back in the pack as the yellow flag comes out again. Hasn't affected the leader, however. Barnelli Jones well clear of that accident. Still maintaining his lead over A.J. Foyt. That Turbine car breezing along with the breeze. Save fuel. Now that, and here to Foyt, Jones may pit. Now, what could those mean?
Well, actually, it's possible they are somewhat concerned about the amount of fuel he has. However, they don't look concerned. I suspect they want him just to slow down a little bit, take it easy, and save that automobile.
Looked like the Granatelli brothers were combing their hair for victory lane there.
And the green flag out once again with Jones almost a full lap ahead of Foyt.
And there's another spin, Roger. It's Gordon Johncock, who was riding in 5th place. The fellow was on the front row at the beginning of the race.
And it looks as though he must have punctured his left rear tire, causing him to lose control. This will throw the yellow flag out again, and of course, this would seem to lock it up for Barnelli Jones.
It certainly would, particularly since it's even conceivable now that they could finish this race under a yellow flag, because we're getting very close. That was A.J. Foyt going by, and Barnelli very close to him, almost lapping him with that 53-second lead. Under the yellow. The crowd now just waiting for victory lane and all that goes with it.
Here comes Jones. Foyt went by just a little ahead, down the back straightaway. There's Foyt.
Let's see, Barnelli must be taking that save fuel sign seriously. He was a lot... He was a lot closer.
He ought to be coming by.
Barnelli Jones with this... Roger, I think something's wrong. Something has happened. Something has happened to the lead car. I don't know what it can be. Something's happened. Here he is.
Barnelli Jones is coasting, coming around the number 4 turn. Barnelli Jones is coasting to a stop, coming around the number 4 turn.
There's Granatelli.
Barnelli Jones is coasting, coming down.
It's possible he could be out of fuel.
High confusion in the Granatelli pits. They didn't know whether to run or stay. Now they're running down to the car. There's Andy.
Certainly something you wouldn't have suspected.
A.J. Foyt just went past and saw it, and there he is waving to his pit crew. Unbelievable chaos here as the lead car, with a little more than 3 laps to go, has apparently dropped out of the race. Andy Granatelli suffering the most disappointing moment of his lifetime.
They don't seem to be pushing the car down to the pits. Apparently the trouble is more than just being out of fuel.
This car that had no difficulty all through the day
suddenly, without any warning, dropping out with 3.5 laps to go. And on the yellow flag.
That's unbelievable. There's Jones getting out, a very disgusted Jones, and there's the old 98, the car that he would have driven perhaps if it weren't for this car being pushed to the pits.
Strange coincidence there, too. But it looks like A.J. Foyt, and we better start talking about him, is going to be the winner here. And there's Parnelli trying to look as casual as possible, but you know how he's got to feel inside.
Certainly a very disappointing day for Parnelli Jones.
The white flag for A.J. Foyt. He had 2 laps to go before, but now all he has to do is negotiate each of these 4 turns one more time, and it's all over. A.J. Foyt will win his 3rd Indianapolis 500, a great comeback after last year's disappointing season for him.
Well, he drove a great race. He just stayed in there all day long, grit his teeth, and there's an accident in the front straightaway.
There's 2, 3, 4 cars. Where's Foyt? I don't know whether he can get through or not.
Another car hitting the wall, bouncing back across the straightaway.
Foyt's only got a couple hundred yards to go, but where is he? There he is.
He's going to get through.
A.J. Foyt will win the Indianapolis 500 in an incredible, thrilling finish. If just all those guys are all right, I think they're all out of their cars except the one. A.J. Foyt on a victory lap, and the red flag was dropped as soon as he was given the checkered flag, meaning that nobody else technically finishes the race except him, except, of course, there will be placings. You saw Joe Leonard in number 4. He'll finish 3rd in the other car owned by A.J. Foyt. The trophy being moved down to victory lane as A.J. Foyt comes in there for the 3rd time in his racing career. I'm not sure that he can even believe this yet, Roger.
What a fantastic finish. Of course, there's Tony Holman in victory lane as A.J. rolls in. He knows where to go. He's been there before.
The wreath of carnations that had been waiting for Parnelli Jones up until just a couple of minutes ago, now on A.J. Foyt.
A very happy A.J. Foyt.
There's the traditional bottle of milk for the Indy winner.
That's his
wife in
wife.
back of him. Yeah. A.J., before the race was restarted today, you said to me these words. You said the Turbine will not finish. I said, why? You said the gearbox will break. That's what happened.
Well, I said, you know, we was talking about the gearbox. I figured it'd go 100 laps, but after it went past 100 laps, it looked kind of hopeless. So I'm glad my prediction was right.
Our congratulations on one of the great courageous victories here at Indianapolis. You never gave up at any point in this race.
No, Jim. Our strategy was just run consistent all day long and try to stay up in the top 3 or 4 positions all day long and try to keep the leaders in sight, and that's what our plan was, and I think it paid off.
How in the world did you get through that accident at the top of the home stretch?
Well, for some reason, I just had a funny instinct about the last lap, and that's the reason, if you probably realize, I didn't close up behind the cars. When they accelerated, I just took off slow because I figured I had to race one if I could just get back around the starting line. And when I come off a 4 corner and seen the smoke, I couldn't believe my own eyes. So I just pulled down the inside and come to almost a complete stop and shifted to low gear and made sure nobody was coming and drove on through it. I just hope nobody was hurt too bad.
A.J., it's a great comeback story, a great story of courage, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A.J. Foyt. And the word on the accident, by the way, is that nobody was hurt.